No problem at all. Thank you, guys. You need anything, just let me know.
All right, Brian. There we go. Whenever you're ready, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, good morning. How are you? Hi, my name is Brian Gorman. I'm with PetroChoice. A little bit about our company. PetroChoice has been around for about 13 years now. I worked for a very small distributor called Lucent Dilworth about 13, 14 years ago, and we were the first acquisition when PetroChoice was formed. We are actually now have had over 30 acquisitions. We're positioned and able to deliver all states. We have our own refinery. We have our own blending facility in Superior, Wisconsin. And we are Mobile Oil's largest distributor in the country. We also have relationships with Valvoline, some of the specialty houses, and we have our own proprietary brand, which on the automotive side is Medallion Plus, and on the industrial and commercial side is Dynaplex. And that is the product that we supply currently to all of Costa's locations, as well as all the franchisees that have been coming on board. I think we're up to half a dozen or so more that we've been supplying as well. I personally have been in the oil business for 30 years. Have dealt with all the major brands for all the different years, equipment, chemical side, etc. Got to know Costa about 8-9 years ago when he started with his first location in Harrisburg. It's grown since there. We're, I think, up to 19 of his own, and then all the franchises that are coming on board. Next slide, please. That kind of gives you a footprint of where we are. Our main headquarters are in King of Prussia, right outside of Philadelphia. I personally live in East Central Pennsylvania. As you can see by the map, we have locations scattered about the country. And if we have an actual location of our own, we do have partnerships. To give you an example, like in the Phoenix area, we have a distributor or a franchisee that we're working with now, and there's several more coming very soon on board. And so through a relationship we have there, we can supply them. And we are constantly in acquisition mode. So, I mean, this map continually changes and we keep growing, which is a good thing. Next, please. On our Medallion brand, again, the oil market's been kind of crazy. Years ago was 1030 and 1040. It's changed so dramatically, and it's constantly changing. And one of the big things right now too with the approvals, like Dexos is an example for General Motors. Our oils are all Dexos approved, the 020s and 530s, and that's what we supply again to Costa's locations now. Our company takes it very serious to stay up to date with everything that's going on. We've spent $1 million plus to get our name on the approval list and go through the process with General Motors to be Dexos approved. A lot of other, people like to play the little game, it meets or exceeds. There's a big difference between that and actually being on the approval list. So we do take it very seriously. Again, things constantly changing. I mean, 016's become very big now with a lot of the imports, and Toyota's playing with 012 right now.
Did you see the news yesterday, Brian?
I'm sorry?
See the news yesterday? API formally requested spec for the 0W8.
Yeah. Well, on a side note, they have been playing with negative numbers in Europe for a couple of years now, which, we've asked that question. Well, if it's negative, it wouldn't exist, but it all has to do with 4-point ability. It's just all based for fuel economy and emissions to a degree, but more than anything, it's all based on fuel economy. It's kind of crazy. Next, please.
Keep forgetting to add the slide. If you want to do that 55-gallon drum slide, I know we keep forgetting to add it.
Great,
Yes,
and
I know.
yeah, I have, yeah, to kind of give you an example, when they consider a barrel of oil, we're talking in my world, 55-gallon drum. But if you look at crude and the price of crude, that's actually based off of 42 gallons. If you look at what comes out of that barrel, and it's a little debatable, but it's about maybe 1 to 3% actually is made into lubricants. The majority of it will go to gasoline, some of it to diesel fuel, and then the lubricants is a very small fraction of it. So it's kind of interesting, and it's the way the price is. We're all experiencing with the crazy world we live in, with the prices of, eggs are, at least where I live, over $4 a gallon. Milk's going up over $1 a gallon this year. It's crazy. And same with this market. It actually has settled down a little bit. We just got notification yesterday that there's rumblings of price increases again coming mid-September, but we'll see what happens. Things finally, after the last 2.5 years of craziness, have finally started calming down a little bit. Through all of this too, there have been allocations. One thing that gives us major advantage, we have our own brand, which we control. We're not at the mercy of someone else. We have our own blending facility, and we really have not had any issues. And it's actually getting better every day as far as availability and supply. So we've had a couple of very minor hiccups on a couple of products, but that was, probably a year ago. But we've been, rock solid since then. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm sorry?
Just need to get some more drivers.
Yeah, well, that's another issue, but yeah, if people would want to work. Now we've had in our one market, we have had some issues, but for the most part, really across the country, we've been in fairly good shape. So like I said, we've been working. I know CLT's coming. They're opening tomorrow. We got them all filled up on Tuesday. So things are working quite well, actually.
Oh, you deliver it to the Charlotte store?
Yes, Tuesday. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm dealing with,
Yeah, we have a first Charlotte store opening tomorrow.
Yep.
And, we're excited for that.
Yeah, I've been dealing. Well, I was dealing with Sandy, but I'm dealing directly with Mike right now, and nice people, very nice. So they're all excited. So we got them all set up. They had their training, I guess, with you folks Monday and Tuesday, and their official grand. I guess it's a soft opening on Friday, tomorrow. So
Yeah. I can see Sandy beating you up tougher than I do.
no, she's nice.
Oh, yeah, just wait.
So are you. No, so are you. But no, it's it's been a lot of fun dealing. Like I said, I first met Costa when the first location, and it's just grown. Like crazy over the last 8 years, and now taking all the franchisees on, and it's just actually it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I love working with the guys and girls. And it's actually been going very smoothly. I'm pleased, and hopefully you are too. So it's been a good ride. It's far from over. Any questions from anybody?
Yeah, any questions?
Where's your cost of goods sold running right now for just a full synthetic oil change spin on filter?
So Brian, give a range for synthetic blend and give a range for full synthetic.
Synthetic blends right now, and again, you're talking in like the low nines, and figure about a $3-ish spread. So say around 13-ish for full synthetic. And that's Dexos for the 020 and 530s, and then your synthetic blends are in the nines right now. And you see, part of the thing as Costa, was growing in this franchise and working with them, wanted to keep it as simple as possible. It's a handful of products mainly that you're going to use. Our pricing is universal across all of Costa's locations, doesn't matter where it is in the country. And that's the same pricing and services we are passing on to you. Because there can be actually surprisingly bigger swings in pricing than you would think, depending on what part of the country. And a lot of that has to do with transportation costs. I mean, right now, the cost of plastics, everything's gone up. So, whether it be a drum, plastics, packaging, trucking, diesel fuel, the list goes on and on and on. But what we've done to keep things as simplified as possible, and this is what Costa wanted to do, it's a set price. It doesn't matter if it's here or if it's in Hawaii. It's the same pricing. So it keeps things much simpler. Even on my end, it makes it much easier to manage because, I'm looking at right now, probably, between Costa's own locations and the franchise, over 30 locations right now I'm taking care of. I deal with every one of those directly with all the managers. And it just keeps it nice and simple.
So our industry has traditionally done a good, better, best model with conventional oil, synthetic blend, and then full synthetic. And Brian can talk to this a little bit, but there's essentially no such thing as conventional oil anymore. Even oil branded as conventional oil probably has some kind of synthetic base to an extent, whether it's 14% or whatever it ends up being. So we eliminated, we were one of the first that I saw in our industry to go from a good, better, best to just a better, best model. Simplify the SKUs. It's kind of going to be a common trend throughout throughout today. Is we wanted to simplify this program as much as possible to make it as easy to operate and also make it easier for the employees to do their job without having to overwhelm them with too many different options. And then also gives you the ability to buy these products in bulk because, as Peter said, refined lubricants are very sensitive to different macroeconomic factors such as diesel fuel, corrugated plastic. When you have a packaged oil that has a label, has plastic, has boxing, has to be transported, that all gets built into the cost, and that's why 1 gallon of oil in a jug is going to be maybe $30, whereas if you buy it in bulk, it could be $13. And so we've tried to streamline that to put it the best margin possible with the least moving parts possible. And that has worked well for us. And it covers the vast majority of cars. We want to cater to we're not going to break our backs for that one customer that demands Quaker State or demands 10W40 or some obscure. We're going to say, go ahead and get it at Walmart. We'll still change the oil, and but we're not going to carry that. We're not going to, we're going to cater to the masses.
So, are you saying this is how the oil comes in plastic gallon?
No, it comes on a truck and put into bulk tanks.
Okay.
Anytime you can do bulk, it just eliminates those extra embedded costs. With a 55-gallon drum, you're paying for the cost of steel. If the cost of steel is up here, then that gets embedded in the price of that oil in the drum. Lubricants are, it's the redheaded stepchild of the petroleum industry. When oil was first discovered in Pennsylvania, in the Drake well up in Titusville, Oil City, Pennsylvania, there was so much oil it was actually like seeping up to the river. That's why the creek up there is called Oil Creek, Oil River. And originally it was used to like treat burns and like some other, that's where the snake oil salesman came from. They were selling it to treat different types of illnesses. So then they found when you refined it, it was turned into kerosene. So petroleum was never intended for gasoline. It was intended for illuminating. So Standard Oil, which is Rockefeller's company, was an illuminating company. And so when people had to shut off their day at 6 o'clock or in November at 4 o'clock, the lamp revolutionized the entire country because you could then do a oil lamp from kerosene, which was refined from petroleum. But then Thomas Edison mass manufactured electricity, and then Rockefeller had to pivot. And gasoline was actually a byproduct of refining kerosene. And gasoline sad to say it, back then was actually discarded. It was literally thrown on dirt roads to keep the dust down. And so when Henry Ford mass produced cars, that's when gasoline became more of a important factor in our business. But the reason I'm saying this is it was a byproduct of the refining process. It's very easy to make gasoline. Making motor oil and lubricants is there's very little difference between the Vaseline you put on your baby's bum and motor oil. They're both lubricants. They're just different viscosities. They have different components. They have different flash points. But at the end of the day, they're lubricants, and they're designed to reduce friction between two things. And the additive packs, motor oil is much like a recipe, and so the different oil companies, Quaker State, Castrol, Mobil One, they all have their recipes, but it all starts with base oil, and then you add these different factors in, and then you get this lubricant. And so what Brian was alluding to with the 55-gallon drum, if you were to look at a diagram of a 55-gallon drum of crude oil and what comes from it, less than 2% of that drum ever makes it to be a refined lubricant. And that includes hydraulic oils, gear oils, passenger car, diesel, etc. So when we have these inflationary periods, they highly affect the lubricant market more so than the other portions of the petroleum market. And by having a uniform system, we've been able, and also having economy of scale by growing as fast as we have, we've been able to at least keep people like PetroChoice at bay and have a little negotiating power.
Oh, definitely. I mean, well, again, we could spend days talking about this. But like to Costa's point, I mean, if you look at, I mean, it's again a very 1 to 2, 3 different, but I normally would say 1 to 2%. And I mean, you got to figure out of that. I mean, there's 5 different levels of base stock. I mean, we could go way too technical on this, but the majority of the oils right now are made out of either a group 2 or group 3 base stock. So if you take that small percentage of what's coming out of a drum, you're taking even a smaller percentage of what's actually being made. And then you get into your synthetics, which are group 3s and PAOs. And it gets kind of complicated. But the one thing that's nice, the fact that we have, again, our own formulations, or recipe, and we produce it ourselves, which gives us a major advantage. And even if we're not actually producing ourselves, we are using, and this is very commonplace in the industry, we have somebody contracted to formulate it for us at, with our recipe. Because again, one of the factors right now is trucking. It doesn't make sense if I could produce oil in Pennsylvania and ship it to Louisiana. I would never be cost effective. It would double the price of the oil just for the trucking alone. So, yes, sir.
Yeah. So the first question is, I know this is being recorded. Will y'all distribute this after this? Because it was supposed to be a slow day, and I've had warehouse fires nonstop. So I missed a good beginning of his presentation here. So if you answered this already, I apologize.
Sure.
Josh, we'll cut this up into different segments and put it on YouTube, and we'll send you the link.
Perfect, man. Appreciate it. So the oils that you're storing on site, I know everything's nothing's underground. It's all